Let's dive right into this explainer and really unpack the visceral reality of global water risk. Today, we're going to map out an incredible journey. We'll be moving from municipal survival on the absolute brink of collapse all the way to the ultimate financial metrics that global businesses and investors use to shield themselves from disaster.
This stark reality check from panda.org sets the stage for our entire analysis today. The impacts of climate change will be felt primarily through the medium of water. Water is just no longer a given. It's become a critical, volatile vulnerability that's rapidly reshaping how our cities survive and exactly how corporations are valued.
To really grasp the sheer scale of this vulnerability, consider this number, 3.6 billion. That staggering figure represents the people globally who already live in areas affected by water poverty for at least 1 month every single year. That is 51% of the world's population right now, and the forecasts suggest it's only going to climb higher.
To see what actually happens when the well literally runs dry for a major population center, let's look at Cape Town. Now, this isn't some isolated, under-resourced town. We are talking about a vibrant, world-class city. It's a top 100 livable city globally and a massive economic powerhouse driving 14% of South Africa's entire GDP. Yet, just a few years ago, it found itself looking over the edge of an unprecedented disaster.
And this brilliantly illustrates the absolute terror they faced. A strict, highly publicized countdown to what they called Day Zero. This wasn't just some vague, far-off projection. It was the exact calendar date the municipal taps would be turned off entirely, leaving millions of residents to queue up for daily water rations. Imagine that, a modern metropolis quite literally out of water.
So how did they survive? Let's move into Section 1, averting the crisis through the Agricultural Alliance. Historically, there's always been this sort of adversarial relationship between municipal users and agriculture. And honestly, it makes total sense when you realize that agriculture consumes a massive 60% of South Africa's water. But, in a crisis, adversaries really have to become allies, driven by incredibly rapid population growth. Adding 2 million people in just 5 years, coupled with climate change and a severe drought, the city had to take radical action to manage the demand.
This alliance proved absolutely critical. The city partnered with 150 local fruit farmers who were operating the privately funded Eikenhoff Dam. Because these farmers managed their infrastructure so incredibly efficiently, they were actually able to free up 10 million cubic meters of their own water allocation and seamlessly transfer it into the municipal system. That single act of reallocation postponed Day Zero by a crucial 20 days and literally bought the city the time it desperately needed to avoid a total collapse.
Which brings us to Section 2, water risk is financial risk.
So, the huge takeaway here is this. If a thriving, world-class city can nearly run dry, businesses absolutely must realize that water is no longer an infinite free resource. Extreme physical and operational risks, think dried-up supply chains, extreme weather events, or halted production lines, they immediately translate into massive financial impacts. We're talking plunging revenues, skyrocketing production costs, and ultimately falling credit ratings that completely alter lending and investment decisions. Basically, water risk is, fundamentally, financial risk.
Let's look at Section 3, disclosing corporate water security. To shield against these multi-billion-dollar threats, global investors rely heavily on the CDP Water Security Questionnaire. And listen, CDP expects way more than basic surface-level metrics. Their priorities are super comprehensive. They demand true transparency on exactly how your board governs water issues. They require rigorous water accounting that actually aligns with global GRI standards. Plus, they're looking for forward-looking risk assessment and pollutant management. You can't just fix a leak anymore. You have to prove you have the institutional governance in place to prevent it from happening in the first place.
In fact, CDP views corporate water stewardship as a deliberate, 3-step progression. First up, you measure your baseline. Why? Because you simply cannot manage what you don't quantify. Second, you govern that risk, right at the senior management and board level. And finally, you embed it directly into your strategic action, so it actually influences your capital allocation and product development.
And here's a really vital distinction we have to make. Generic corporate narratives simply won't cut it anymore. Water risk is inherently local. A global average means absolutely nothing if your most profitable factory is sitting right in the middle of a drought-stricken basin. Investors need specific facility-level data in those high-risk locations to truly understand their exposure.
Moving right along to Section 4, evolving disclosure expectations.
So the expectations aren't stopping at the factory gates anymore. Value chain engagement is now squarely under the microscope. Why is that? Because the largest water impacts, and therefore the largest systemic exposures, often occur out in the supply chain. Your company's true water vulnerability might actually be hidden several layers deep in your supplier network. And you know what? Investors fully expect you to identify and manage that systemic risk.
Furthermore, we're seeing entirely new frontiers of water risk popping up. Take the rapid expansion of AI, data centers, and digital infrastructure. They introduce incredibly intense cooling requirements. These technologies are highly water-intensive, which basically makes water availability a hard, physical limit on where and exactly how technological growth can be sustainably scaled in the near future.
Finally, Section 5, the expanding framework encompassing nature and oceans. This whole framework evolution is accelerating so rapidly. It's moving way beyond just freshwater to encompass the broader health of our entire natural ecosystem. Think about it. CDP incorporated a plastics module back in 2023 to address pollution. By 2025, that's being separated out to allow for much more nuanced reporting. And looking ahead to 2026, they are launching a brand new, dedicated oceans module just to track marine dependencies and impacts. This signals a massive, massive shift toward full accountability for how businesses interact with all global waters.
Ultimately, what we're witnessing here is a profound shift. Corporate water reporting is transitioning away from just being a static, check-the-box compliance exercise. It's evolving into this multi-billion-dollar shield of financial and operational resilience. Really, it's about surviving extreme physical shocks and proving to the market that your business is built to last.
So I want to leave you with this final, crucial thought to consider about your own operations and supply chains. Are you merely counting the drops, treating water as this infinite resource, or are you actually actively building the resilience required to survive the next day zero? The data shows the crisis is coming. The only question left is, will you be ready?